Okay, so you want to know the secrets to business growth, right? You want to scale your business, but you don't have hours and hours to listen to all these podcasts.
Right. You want the cheat sheet, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
The Spark Notes.
The cliff notes to every business growth podcast out there.
That's what we're doing here today.
Exactly. So we did the deep dive for you.
We did.
We listened to tons of business growth podcasts, and we pulled out some of the key insights that came up over and over again.
Yeah, the kind of things that you really need to know if you're trying to grow a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that really stuck out to me was the importance of mindset.
Oh, totally.
You hear this again and again.
Over and over again.
It's like resilience, right? Being able to bounce back from setback.
Having that grit.
Yeah.
To keep going when things get tough.
Yeah, because it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to just have smooth sailing.
You're going to hit roadblocks?
Absolutely. And I think it's so easy to get discouraged, right?
It is.
When you hit those roadblocks, but the people who are successful, they're the ones who can pick themselves up.
Dust themselves off.
Yeah, and keep going. And it's also being adaptable, right? Being able to change course when you need to.
Pivot.
Yes,
yeah,
pivot.
That's the buzzword.
It is a buzzword.
But it's so important.
It is because the market changes.
The plan is never going to survive first contact with the enemy.
Exactly. So you got to be able to move with it.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing about mindset is this idea of a growth mindset, right? So it's not just about bouncing back from failure. It's about actually seeing failure as an opportunity to learn.
Totally. Wow.
So it's not oh, I messed up. It's oh, what can I learn from this? How can I do better next time?
What did this teach me?
Yeah.
What new information do I have now that I can use?
Exactly. And I think that's such a powerful way to approach business and life in general, really.
Yeah, sure. For sure.
And then, so you have your mindset, right? You're ready to go. You're resilient. You're adaptable. You've got a growth mindset.
You're ready to take on the world.
You're ready. What's the next step? Well, you got to get the word out.
You got to tell people about your business.
Yeah, you got to market it.
You got to market it.
You got to brand it.
Branding.
So much emphasis in these podcasts on marketing and branding.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially digital marketing, right?
It's the world we live in.
It's the world we live in. Everyone's online, so...
We got to be where the people are.
Exactly. So there's a lot of talk about content marketing, creating valuable content that's going to attract your target audience.
Yeah, build that trust, build that relationship.
Yeah, and then social media, right? Figuring out which platforms are right for your business and how to use them effectively.
Not just being on every platform.
Yeah.
But being strategic.
Yes, being strategic about it.
Knowing where your audience is.
Exactly. And then, of course, SEO, making sure that people can find you when they're searching online.
So important.
It is. And the thing that I think is really important about all this is that it's not just about shouting your message from the rooftops.
No,
it's about really understanding your ideal customer.
Knowing them better than they know themselves.
Right. What are their needs? What are their pain points? What are their aspirations?
What keeps them up at night?
Yeah. And then how can your business help them achieve those things?
All their problems.
Yeah. And so when you really understand your customer, you can create marketing and branding that really resonates with them.
That really speaks to them.
Yeah, that feels authentic and that builds trust.
Exactly.
And then once you've got people's attention, you got to close the deal.
You got to make the sale.
You got to make the sale. So these podcasts talk a lot about sales strategies for growth.
Yeah, how to actually convert those leads into customers.
Right. And there's a lot of different approaches, right? Some people are really into the hard sell.
Yeah, the high pressure.
Yeah, the always be closing.
ABC.
Mengary.
Glenn Ross.
Yes, exactly. But then there are other people who are much more about building relationships and providing value.
You're giving away free content.
Yeah, and then sort of earning the sale over time.
Yeah, showing that you're the expert.
Yeah, and so there's no one right way to do it.
It depends on your business. It depends on your industry.
Yeah, and I think it's about finding what works best for you.
Exactly.
But regardless of your approach, these podcasts emphasize the importance of having a clear sales process.
Yeah, having a system.
Yeah, so that you're not just winging it every time.
And you can track your progress.
Right. You can track your progress. You can see what's working, what's not working.
Optimize.
Optimize, yeah.
You love that word.
I do love that word.
I know you do.
And then pricing is another big topic.
How much to charge?
how much to charge, right? Because you got to make sure that you're pricing your products or services in a way that's going to allow you to grow.
But also that's fair to your customers.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of different pricing models out there.
Value pricing, cost, plus pricing, premium pricing.
Yeah, and it really depends on your business and your industry and what your value proposition is.
That makes you unique.
Yeah.
What are you bringing to the table?
Exactly. And then, you can't talk about sales without talking about data.
Data is king.
Data is king. So these podcasts talk a lot about using data to understand sales trends to forecast future growth.
Yeah, to make better decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not just about like gut feeling. It's
Yeah.
about actually looking at the numbers and seeing what they tell you.
Yeah, and using those insights to inform your sales strategy.
Exactly. Okay, so you've got the sales coming in.
Money's rolling
The
in.
money's rolling in, but what do you do with it?
You got to manage it.
You got to manage it. You got to make sure that you're using it wisely to fuel further growth.
Sustainable growth.
Yes, sustainable growth. And so these podcasts talk a lot about financial management.
Yeah, the money stuff.
The money stuff and especially cash flow.
Oh, so important.
Like making sure that you have enough cash on hand to cover your expenses and to invest in growth opportunities.
Because running out of cash is a quick way to kill your business,
Absolutely.
no matter how good your product is or your service.
Yeah, and so there are a lot of different strategies for managing cash flow.
Yeah, budgeting, forecasting,
Yeah, and it's really about being proactive and staying on top of it.
knowing your numbers,
Yes, knowing your number.
like we said before.
Exactly. And then funding is another big topic.
How are you going to pay for all this growth?
Yeah, because growth costs money.
It does.
So you got to figure out how you're going to fund it. And
Right.
and there are a lot of different options, right? Like you could bootstrap.
Get fund yourself.
You could seek out venture capital.
Get investors on board.
You could crowdfund.
Raise money from the crowd.
Yeah, and each of these options has its own pros and cons.
Yeah, its own risks and rewards.
Exactly. So it's about figuring out what's right for your business and your goals.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about mindset, we've talked about marketing, we've talked about sales, we've talked about finance,
We're hitting all the big ones.
hitting all the big ones. But at the end of the day, none of it matters if you don't have a great product or service.
That's the core of it all.
It is the core of it all. So these podcasts spend a lot of time talking about innovation and product development.
How to create something people actually want.
Yeah, and how to make it better and better over time.
Continuously improve.
Continuously improve, yes. And so there's a lot of talk about like achieving product market fit, which basically means making sure that your product or service meets a real need in the market.
You're solving a problem.
Yeah, and that's not always easy to do.
It takes research.
Yeah.
It takes experimentation,
Yeah, it takes listening to your customers.
understanding their feedback.
Yeah, and being willing to pivot.
There's that word again.
There it is again. And then once you've got product market fit, you got to figure out how to scale production.
How to meet that growing demand,
Yeah, because you don't want to be in a situation where like you've got all this demand, but you can't fulfill it.
right? You don't want to leave money on the table.
Exactly. So these podcasts talk a lot about like building efficient systems.
Streamlining processes.
Yes, and automating where possible.
Using technology to your advantage.
Yes, technology is huge in all of this.
It's the engine of growth in so many ways.
It is. So these podcasts explore how businesses can leverage technology and digital transformation to grow.
Yeah. Using AI, automation, digital tools.
Yeah, e-commerce, SaaS models,
All that good stuff.
all that good stuff. And then, of course, cybersecurity, right? Like,
Got to keep your data safe.
got to keep your data safe, especially as your digital footprint expands.
Because the more you rely on technology, the more vulnerable you are to cyber attacks.
Absolutely. So you got to be smart about it.
You got to have a plan
You got to plan.
to protect yourself.
Yes. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of like internal stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like mindset, leadership, marketing, sales, finance, product development, technology.
Inner workings of a business.
Yeah, but business growth isn't just about what happens inside your company.
It's also about the connections you make.
Yeah, it's about the relationships you build.
Networking.
Networking,
Partnership. Mentorship.
learning from others.
Yeah, and these podcasts really emphasize the importance of all of that.
Because you can't do it alone.
You can't do it alone. You need other
Yeah.
people to support you, to challenge you, to inspire you.
To open doors for you.
Yeah, and so it's about building a strong network of mentors, advisors, colleagues, partners.
Your tribe,
Yeah, your tribe, your people
you get it.
who get it. Yeah, and who can help you on your journey.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing I wanted to touch on is the power of stories.
Oh, yeah.
So these podcasts are full of case studies and real life stories of entrepreneurs who have scaled their businesses.
Mm.
Yeah, you get to hear from the people who have actually done it.
Yeah, and they share their successes and their
Our
failures.
lessons learned.
Yeah, and I think there's so much value in that because it's one thing to like hear about these concepts in theory, but it's another thing to hear how they actually play out in the real world.
It makes it real.
It makes it real, it makes it relatable.
You can see yourself in their shoes.
Yeah, and it gives you hope, right? Because you see that other people have done it.
That it's possible.
That it's possible, yeah. And so some of the podcasts that we really liked.
Let's give some shout outs.
Yeah, let's give some shout outs. So the Tim Ferriss Show is a great one.
He interviews like top performers from all different fields.
Yeah, athletes, entrepreneurs, investors, artists, like you name it.
It's amazing.
And he always gets like really deep insights from them.
Really digs into their mindset, their strategies, their routines.
Yeah, and then there's How I Built This with Guy Raz.
Oh, that one's so good.
I love that one. It's
Yeah.
all about like the stories behind well-known companies.
Yeah, like how they started, what challenges they faced, how they overcame them.
Yeah, it's so inspiring.
It really is.
And then the Smart Passive Income podcast with Pat Flynn.
That one's more focused on online businesses.
Yeah, it's all about like building online businesses and generating passive income.
Yeah, like creating courses and ebooks and membership sites.
Yeah, and Pat is just like a really great teacher.
He breaks it down in a way that's easy to understand.
Yeah, and then Masters of Scale with Reid Hoffman.
The LinkedIn guy.
The LinkedIn guy. Yeah, he interviews like really successful entrepreneurs and investors and they talk about like scaling strategies.
It's how to go from startup to a global company.
Yeah, it's really high level stuff, but it's
Yeah.
also really insightful.
Really thought-provoking,
Yeah, so those are just a few examples.
just to give you a taste.
Yeah, there are so many great business growth podcasts out there.
And they're all free.
They're all free, which
Oh.
is amazing.
Like you have access to all this knowledge and expertise just at your fingertips.
It's incredible. So if you're interested in learning more about business growth, I highly recommend checking out some of these podcasts.
Yeah, dive in.
Dive in and see what resonates with you.
Because there's something for everyone.
There is something for everyone.
No matter what stage of business you're in,
Exactly. So what are you going to dive into? What are you going to check out first?
what's going to help you grow your business?
Let us know.